here for the continuation of this. We have already received the presentation by guidance of the activity report and financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2017, that was December 2018, and 31st December 2019, which will form part of our consolidation. We started consideration yesterday, and to remind all of us, we emphasize that GAIPA rests on four fundamental things. That it is to promote investment. It is to promote and develop the export potential of business in the country. It is to encourage and support the formation and development of sustainable and capable micro, small, and medium enterprises. And finally, it is to develop an effective policy advocacy campaign for the attainment of the object. We looked at the activity report. We should indicate to us how far GAIPA has gone in fulfilling its mandate. And we did observe that fundamentally, sustainability is the key question. That GAIPA would not be able to perform all this function until it is seen is sustainable. We looked at the financial statement and observed a dwindling of income, which was identified as a threat. And the question was asked, what GAIPA intended to do to address that threat. And you did give many examples where GAIPA is either reconsidering or has already considered putting its might to ensure that what belongs to it is actually received. We, of course, would wish to have documentation of the time frame GAIPA has set itself to attain those objectives that it says it is either working on or has already worked on, so that we are ensured that the institution is heading towards financial viability. We also did consider the assets of GAIPA and saw that GAIPA clearly had assets which far exceed its income base. We've already pointed out the concerns of the auditors for ensuring those assets so that GAIPA will not lose in the final outcome. So those assets are matters of concern because of the fact that they could enable the institution not only to be financially viable, but also to be so much income generating that it could be a facilitator, as rightly expected, of the export base of the country, the processing base of the country. So we are expecting to receive reports on what was originally planned what was done, what was being processed, whether there are documentations of them so that we can know quantity. So all that would be significant in preparing our report and making recommendations of the future of GAIPA. That's the transition from GIPSA to GAIPA. Would be very significant. We have received members' information that not only has there been a transition in name, but the assets also had been legally transferred. So it is important, again, to receive those documentation to see the transfer of assets so that ultimately GAIPA will not be trapped into legal issues in the short or long run. We have also been told that in order to maximize benefit from its assets, GAIPA is thinking of a PPA arrangement, public-private partnership agreement, PPA arrangement, for the development of its land space, of its assets. And we've been told over 35% or 30%, 35% and 65% arrangement with a private operator dealing with a sum of $300 million investment. That's not an ordinary investment, and one would anticipate that with the proper development of such investment, one will not be talking about GAIPA sustaining its existence. It may metamorphose into another institution that will be able to facilitate the very export promotion that it is set up to carry out. So in that sense, we were moving in that trajectory in our inquiry, gathering as much information as we could, and I don't know, the chair had very much summed up the key issues that GAIPA wanted to address. I hope the management has taken note of those point by point. Should management want to finish, and this time in a very summarized version, some of the key issues raised, then that was the recommendation of the members, to finish with that, and then the members will be able to pose their questions. That said, I will put it that we continue the consideration of the activity report and financial statement of GAIPA for the year ended 31st December 2017, 31st December 2018, 31st December 2019. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those not in favor say no. Well, consideration continues. Management, do you still wish to address some of the pointers, or have you exhausted what were of major concern, and the members will proceed?
Thank you, Chairman. I think we've exhausted what we had yesterday.
Okay.
My last reference was a reply to what the auditor has talked about, and which is that we have in place now strategies to make sure that the SIC application is taken within 3 months. Once they provide all the requirements and they meet the criteria, we need to just within 3 months.
Okay, we have raised, and hopefully you will tell us whether you are going to move in that direction, that since it is your duty to promote investment and promote export, that in the future, in terms of your activity report, whether you can do the segregation of all these elements so that we can see concretely your intervention, the investment it encouraged, and the actual performance of the investor on the ground and justifying this incentive annually. So that disclosure will enable the committee to be able to see exactly your trajectory. So what's your opinion on that?
I think to respond to the chairman, we have within the SIC, we have
well, I'm asking directly to you, but the chair raises, and the chair is the authority.
I'll allow him to go.
You allow, okay, I'm sorry, Chair.
That's okay.
I should not ask directly. The question is to you.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I think with regard to the SIC, we had 3 committees. One is called the Investment Incentive Committee, which consists of the PS Trade as the chairman. Then you have the PS Finance. You have the Commissioner General GRA and the CEO of GAIPA. Underneath that committee, we have what we call the Investment Monitoring Group. The Investment Monitoring Group is what goes around to visit SIC holders to evaluate vis-a-vis their business plan and to what is actually happening on the ground. And in addition, they have reporting requirement. Just like PACPEC, all SIC holders submit audited financial statements to GAIPA. They also submit annual returns to GAIPA as well. And as we speak, we are working with GRA in their new Asikuta update, where there will be a module dedicated to SIC, that whatever we input in GAIPA would appear on their end, and whatever incentive they also facilitated at the GRA level, we'll be able to access it as well. So this way, at least, we will have a synchronization of data between the 2 institutions, so that whatever tax burden is given in the form of SIC, we know the SIC certificate registration number of the business. We know what capital goods or what products duty is waivers and how much the duty it is. So as we speak, we've already started the engagement, and we are working hand in glove with the GRA to ensure that we have that platform in GAIPA, which is a module of the Asikuta War.
Chair,
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Now, I was just going to confirm what you just said this morning. You were reiterating the issue of exports, and that was related to point 6 of our discussions yesterday. I just wanted to underscore why it is important in subsequent reports for us to give you the analysis of input versus outcome, because we do not only support the businesses, but I think yesterday the CEO mentioned that we even facilitate some of the businesses going to exhibit their products in trade fairs in other countries. So if that is being done from the meager resources that we have, it also behoves on us to find out in terms of exports how the country is benefiting. So I think that will make it an interesting reading if we can give you some kind of comparative analysis of how much we have put in and how much we are getting in terms of revenue. I just wanted to underscore that. That's a very important point.
and
Yeah.
as you rightly have,
Yes, I just want to write what the committee were talking about. How often do you meet? Because considering the people you mentioned,
Yes.
they are busy for family citizens. So how often do you meet to SIC, sorry?
We basically meet on a need basis. We normally have a notice period at least within a month, whereby we will try, whether it's after work or weekends, to ensure that we meet as a committee and evaluate and give approval or otherwise to these applicants. So there has been very good coordination and cooperation between the 4 institutions that share this committee. And I know time is very tough, but we always try to, if the need be, we do it weekends or we do it extra afterwards.
I want to add, Mr. Chair, that ideally it should be quarterly, but then we meet more often than that.
Yeah.
depending also on how many applications we receive in terms of the SIC applications. One weakness I must admit we have was in the area of monitoring. I think he said we have 3 or 4 different committees. We have the SIC committee, but we also have the monitoring arm of it. In 2020, we found that we are a bit wanting in that area. And that's something that we have decided now we will actively pursue. Because when you give the SIC, you need to really monitor. It's not only what the beneficiaries report at the end of the day, but sometimes on-the-spot kind of checks also helps to determine, whether they are actually doing what they are supposed to be doing. But meetings sometimes they can happen even 3-4 times in a month. It depends on how many applications we have. He told you we took a cue from the President's State of the Nation's address 2 years ago.
Yes.
I think in that report the President said there were only 4 SICs in 2019 or 2020 thereabout. 2019, yeah. But I'm happy to say if we took count of what happened in the previous year, we will be commended because we now make sure there's no backlog. I think our auditor alluded to that yesterday when he said investors must be assured that when they put in their request, that they are treated in a timely fashion. We've actually, I must commend the CEO. When he assumed office, we saw a dramatic shift in that gear. And now there is no longer that kind of backlog. Things are treated very, very fast. And I'm happy if the president were to give his next year's report, you would hear us in the double digits rather than in the single digits. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I believe the emphasis of GAIPA in that domain of supervision seems to have been the leading operational mandate of the institution. It seems that the focus has been to build institutions that actually promotes and supervises what the functions are supposed to be. What we are more concerned with is the data collection and documentation. And we can see that the report is still weak in that domain. So it is important that you strengthen that domain because this is what tells us what impact your activities have on the economy itself. We've mentioned, for example, if you say 12 businesses went to perform in a particular fair, well, it's just 12 businesses. You are just giving a fact that 12 businesses went to perform. Those businesses in isolation, one by one, what did they show? How much did they gain from it? What is your contribution to their development, to their growth? How are you helping to grow them or to help to develop them? And then year in, year out, what is happening? Is it just a one-off thing or is there a continuous relationship in helping them to grow as institutions? And then how much have they contributed to export? So how much have you linked them maybe so that they become bigger by coming together, associating and building their shares and building a share mentality rather than individual company mentality. So these are the things that we would anticipate GAIPA would do so that you actually contribute to these 3 elements. You are contributing to investment, you are contributing to export, the promotion, you are also contributing to the development of the micro, small, medium enterprises towards that venture? What one could see those skills from the database itself? I don't know, Chair, whether...
I quite agree. In fact, one major recommendation from their study tour in Senegal, when he came, the first thing he implemented was, Chairman, I was very impressed with what we saw in Senegal. However, that's the same thing we should repeat, we should see done in the Gambia. And I think yesterday we highlighted that as one of our constraints, that we do not control all the things that would sum up in terms of our achievements, in terms of our mandate, in terms of what we should be pursuing. And that has affected our reporting capacity negatively, because these are details that are supposed to be domiciled at GAIPA, and that will enrich our report and our planning processes. But now they are found either in GCCI or the Ministry of Finance. So he lamented that. He told me it's a shame when we went, the Senegalese, from the push of a button, they can tell us exports, they can tell us every detail, even the processes, at what stage are they. But GAIPA cannot supply you that kind of thing. So I think that's something we'll be working on throughout 2022 to consolidate.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah,
and in what I mean, so what? How do you facilitate them?
The trade fairs.
Yes.
I'll give you one that we attended recently in South Africa, in Africa. Here we went with 5 major businesses, and during the process, we pay for the stand and the stand building and decorations. The businesses pay for their airfares and their accommodation and subsistence.
They paid for the stand.
Yes, we pay for the stand, the stand face. So during the fair in Durban, the businesses we went with 𝐤𝐈𝐄𝐏, we went with 𝐽𝐧𝐧, and we went with GGC, the Gambia General Corporations. And as we speak till today, there's huge negotiations going on, because there is suppliers that are working with them, 𝐤𝐈𝐄𝐏, for example, to provide raw input for cement, raw material for cement, as well as oil, and for gas. And for GGC, we're also negotiating working with them, because if you look at it, they're trying to build a fertilizer factory, or there's a factory for cashew processing as well, and we are working with them. And during the fair also, we were able to interact with Afro-Exim Bank, Afro-African Bank, as well as Oak Green in Ghana. And as we speak, Oak Green are they will be filling a mission in February. And here, these businesses are these institutions are coming to Gambia to meet businesses. Thereby, they are looking at ways of financing them, as well as offering them letters of credit at a discounted and a reduced price. Because Afro-Exim Bank, as you know, is an AU bank that is provided for the promotion of exports as well. So in a nutshell, we go to fairs, we organize the businesses, we try to engage other businesses for them. And in the same 2021 too, on the smaller businesses, we have the Export Advance Program, which we partnered with the ITC. And within this program, we have a lot of small businesses that were trained for a period of 6 months on packaging, on display. And the training was centered on food and fashion. And they've also been linked with companies in the UK and around the world. And as we speak, some of them are engaging directly with these small businesses as well.
Yes, just as we said, for narration, what
it's
can
important,
see
yes.
processing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But impact assessment,
it's important.
You cannot weigh. Right. And I think that is where you must make sure that your reporting style, the statistics, the information you give would actually quantify the impact being made. And you must clearly demarcate what is for export promotion and what is to help micro, small, because these tasks are clearly stipulated.
Absolutely.
We are supposed to help the micro, small, and medium enterprises to grow and develop. So you must concretely show how this is being done and how they are developing. With the export also, how export is actually being maximized by dealing with the bigger companies. So you've mentioned big companies, you've mentioned small companies, so enterprises. So it is important for this demarcation to be clear and the objective to be clear, that when we move with these big companies, this is what we anticipate.
Absolutely.
Building up so that we can promote export, or are we promoting domestic investment into the productive base? So it should be clearly demarcated, because what is there by law is clearly demarcated.
Absolutely.
That is really the point, that the reporting style should, fit into that categorization and then quantification of the impact, so that we can visibly see what is really doing.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. I'm a co-chief member.
Yes. Unfortunately, we have to pause so that we can have a
Yeah. So you can draw my attention if I am deviating anyway, because this is my first time anyway to have this opportunity to get a wrap up with you people. So the question I have is, I heard him talking about trade fair. So as an institution, I know you do have these success stories, but again, you also have some bottlenecks in trying to carry out your day-to-day activities. If you have any bottlenecks or challenges that you face along the line, would you share it with the committee so that we also know them? In any way we can help as a committee, we can also support so they know you can meet your target, your goals and objective as an institution. Yes.
Thank you. I think in response to that, it is more to do with funding, because the inadequate funding makes it very difficult for us to pre-plan and carry out the activities. And again, here we are also talking about our experience when we went to Senegal. In Dakar, we met them having a team. They were preparing a team that was going to the expo in Dubai. And here it was a big conference, talking about 50 businesses that they put in one room, coaching them, preparing them to go to Dubai. And what we realized from them was the executive provide adequate funding for Senegalese businesses to go to Dubai. They pay 60% of the institution pays 60% of the cost, and the businesses pay 40% of the cost. And this has enabled them to have massive participation and massive results in Dubai. And for us, this was it's not necessarily an eye-opener, but I would say this was to tell us why we find it difficult to penetrate. Because here we have virtually no resources to prepare businesses, much over to take them to Dubai. So in a nutshell, funding is a key issue. And this is why yesterday we alluded to the ECOWAS levy that government is collecting, which is a 1% of cost. For me, this levy is more about promoting export. So at least if GAIPA as an institution can have access to the levies, specially targeted for trade fair facilitation, so that we can go with our businesses and expose them. Because unfortunately, we have to carry the businesses stuff, not the businesses themselves, but each one we collected various samples to put on display, as opposed to actually getting them on the ground, like our contemporaries in Senegal. Yes.
Have you ever engaged the ministry or the executive about the issue?
Well, we have told them about the need for us to have access to it to promote our export potentials as a country. Yes, we have engaged them informally, but we haven't officially reached to them.
Now you are giving us information. So
yes.
What if you are intending to, tell us you are intending to, formalize this issue. If this meeting has energized you to do something, well, is to state concretely the state of play. What is the state of play now?
I think the state of play now is we are anticipating to have an exporters forum towards the end of this month. And I think that, yes, as I alluded yesterday, we'll be inviting this body to participate in the forum as well. And it is at this forum that we want to really outline our export mandate and our export functions vis-a-vis the Act at what the Act has mandated us and giving us rights to do. In this way, we will reclaim back all the export tools, and this is the same forum that will make a justification to have access to the ECOWAS levy that will be geared towards preparing our businesses, particularly the medium-sized businesses, so that we can just do like our contemporaries are doing. Because in South Africa, you find Nigeria, they did the same thing. They went with hundreds of businesses in South Africa, and they were supported on the same similar ratio, whereby government will pay this percentage, and the institution and the individual pay the rest.
Yes. The other thing is, like, we've been interacting with many institutions in this parliament here.
Yes.
But along the line, you find out that some institutions do have these legislative gaps.
Yes.
To support them to do what is expected of them. Do you have any legislative gap that is parliament can support you in terms of legislation so you can do your work as expected?
No, I think honestly, we've reviewed the GAIPA Act recently, and we felt there's not much to do vis-a-vis the GAIPA Act. As we speak, we are working on doing the regulations, and I think it is more or less the Act not being implemented, or GAIPA, what I would say, GAIPA's mandate being absorbed or taken by other ministries or agencies. But to be honest, the drafters of the Act did justice to the Act.
Yes, members, I think we can look at procurement a bit. Look what happened. Yes, go ahead.
Activity report 2019, page 16.
Go ahead.
Are you there? I didn't see or something.
Yes.
Activity report 2019, page 16. Go ahead, member.
Yes, you talked about the investment. They benefited. They have benefited in incentives that are registered with you. They have benefited from some of the incentives that for service to ensure that they have a conducive environment and they are good. So my concern here is it's good to have good incentives for the investors, but do you have any mechanism in place to make sure that they don't overexploit their environment and the populace?
I think you understand the question,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I touched on that earlier on, that we have a monitoring committee. Once SICs are issued, it's not just you take it and then that's it. The committee has a subcommittee charged with the responsibilities to monitor and report and to ensure compliance. So yes, in a direct answer to your question, they are monitored.
So you are telling the member that you do have a monitoring tool. The expectations are clearly stipulated there. And then when you monitor, you take 1, 2, 3 and see a checklist and see what has been done and what is missing. And then you do sanction those who depart from the monitoring tool, and you do allow others to continue. But the member is emphasizing, how do you prevent over-exploitation? So that's a very interesting word. Is there expectation that this business, working within this conducive environment, should attain this level of growth and this level of profit making? Or is it that the sky is the limit, that even though you are given an investment certificate, you may end up controlling the whole country, and still the investment certificate will be there, while you are making more than...
I will just make a comment and then allow the technicians to...
I hope the technicians are listening very carefully.
From the experience I gathered since I took over as chair, I know there's a process. Investors would normally submit a 5-year business plan, and that plan will have projections in terms of revenue and, of course, in terms of expenses. SICs are given based on that. So data is provided, and it's based on that data that they are being monitored. But the nitty-gritties, I will leave the technicians to answer that.
Yeah, thank you. I think within
Let's say the projection is 100 million.
Yes.
You are given SIC.
Yes.
And now you make 1 billion.
Well, what is happening here is the SIC, we have to look at what it offers you. It gives you a waiver on import of capital goods and raw materials. Now here, at the time of application, you submit an import list. That import list documents the items, the quantity or volume, and the value of the item that you intend to import over that 5 years. The committee will review that import list, rationalize it, and give approval. So you cannot go beyond that import list. That is for the import, that is the duty waiver relative to capital goods and imports. Now the other one that you enjoy is corporation tax. And this corporation tax, you enjoy it for a duration of 5 years. Now, it is very difficult to reply to the direct question you said, but businesses within 5 years of operations normally do not tend to make super profits, particularly on the priority sectors.
It's a very hypothetical
yes.
question.
Yes.
And take it as a hypothetical
yes.
question, and it may lead to developing something else.
Yes.
Okay. The question is there, in terms of corporate tax,
yes,
is a ceiling?
No. No. There is, as within the 5 years, you enjoy tax-free. But again, like I said, I know it's hypothetical, but if you look at the priority sectors that government is giving this incentive, because it's not, for example, import and retailing doesn't count. All that we support is production. You either have to produce goods in country, or if it is farming, you have to produce or process. But we do not support people buying cars or selling cars or importing goods, adding a money. Those things are way out of our remit. What we support is agriculture. We support the seeds, the production, agro-processing as well. And we also support the tourism, that is 4-star and 5-star hotels. And we all know that these are all businesses that will take time even to break even. So, and within 5 years, it's typical, most typical businesses, by the time you start operational within 5 years, it's difficult to make abnormal profits.
And additionally, I think it's important to note, again, reference to what the auditor said, the time it takes. The reason why sometimes it takes time to give the final approval is based on the kind of information you provide to the agency. Because the agency has technicians who are highly qualified, accountants and so on. They would have to, analyze the figures. So we do not just take any figure that you give. You have to convince them that the figures you are working on are really, if you say you will break even by so years, they will calculate. They will not just take your word for it. And during the course of our work also, we found sometimes some people want to be smart. For instance, they may need a vehicle or two for a particular business, and they will put in 20 vehicles. So we are quick to realize that these are not relevant to your business. So approval is usually not denied. So, people will try all kinds of chances.
But the auditor's concern,
yes.
if you look at SIC income. In terms of the income statement.
Which page is that? Is it there?
In 229, I mean 219, 2019.
Accounts.
Financial statement at page 8. There's the income, the balance sheet. The balance sheet. I'm sorry, it should be income statement. Okay, page 7. Page 7, the income statement. So if you look at the income statement, SIC income, Special Investment Certificate income, is 192,000 in 2018 and 101,000 in 2019. So the issue is, could you say that this is what you should have received from this SIC, or is it that you are not actually receiving what you are entitled to? I believe when we mentioned the need to take over all these sources of income, the efficiency in terms of collection to ensure that the money gets into the coffers is what is really being emphasized.
Two things I may account for this. I told you about a particular year, and I think it's 2019, when our performance in terms of SICs was very minimal. So you could see that it's gone down here. And I told you we made a turnaround the subsequent year. This year I think we did only about 4 SICs.
I think most likely it's 2.
Yeah.
If you look at the fee was $1,000. If you're taking higher one, you could realize that this is 2019, most likely it was only 2 SIC that was processed during the year.
But the scenario is now different. Because now the processing is faster and we are processing more and more. And also the revenue has increased from the $1,000 flat rate to 1%.
Yes.
Yes, sir. We have further observation. Okay, could we then look at the procurement? There was a very tough battle between management and GPPA. Well, I'm coming to the pages. And it appears that management did not agree too well with the GPPA observation. So let's look at It's 31st December 2017 to 2020. That's the observations. But okay, so let's look at the pages, starting with compliance. Apparently, GPPA.
Do you have the Yes.
Okay. We can go to page 11. And in terms of non-compliance practice, it is referred to in page 12 that the AO did not appoint members of the inspection and acceptance committee. However, this role is performed by the stores and end users with responsible to verify goods supplied in terms of quantity and quality as required by then all the specifications. So management's response, recommendation is the AO should appoint members of the inspection and acceptance committee. So it is talking about the AO doing that. But the management is saying the agency has a record officer, record assistant, and messenger who are responsible for receiving of all goods and services that do not deal with technical equipment. Then it mentioned. So here, it seems that what management is saying, well, there is no need to really for the AO to appoint what GPPA said should be the mandate of the AO. So how do you see that? What is the, yes?
Thank you, Chairman. I think what I would say in regard to that is, considering the size of the institution and also the volume of transaction that it had, that we felt that was the right way of doing it. However, it is more or less we are doing what they are recommending. It's just that we will officially now formalize it and write letters and appoint these people as members of that committee. It's like the function is being performed, it's been existent, but it's just not formalized, which we will do. Hopefully, we will do this. We will do and ensure that it doesn't become an issue again. So we'll formalize it.
What are you up to say? You are saying the AO should do the appointment. You are talking about a technical thing.
The AO should appoint the Exemption and Receipt Committee by written, not verbally. To say we have it there, but we have to see the evidence of that, whether they are appointed formally, giving them all their letters.
So I think management can hear that. For them, when they come for inspection, just like the auditors,
Yes.
they are looking for the letters of appointment.
Absolutely.
And when they don't see it, they will say you are not complying.
Absolutely. I think they're doing the function as outlined in their report, but it's not being formalized.
No, we understand.
Yeah.
I think this is what we want seized.
Okay.
It seems like there is a chasm between DPPA and management. Management is actually saying we are doing the right thing, but in a different way. And DPPA is saying that you are not complying with the act itself because this is how it must be done. So it means that the challenge should be for management to look at the act and say that, well, DPPA, what you are saying is not in the act. And what is in the act is this, and therefore we are not going to just obey your words, we will obey the law. But what is very clear in the report, I don't need to go through all of it, but there is that tendency for management to say, well, we have always done the right thing, we are doing the right thing, so don't blame us for doing anything that is wrong. And it seems throughout DPPA saying, well, compliance means what the Act says, and we expect you to comply with the Act. Do we understand each other in that regard?
Yes, we do.
And those management see the need at least to work more closely with DPPA.
Absolutely.
And maybe get those responsible procurement to develop their familiarity with the Act itself, and therefore be able to challenge GPPA based on the Act, not just based on your good practice versus what is now the requirement of the law.
I think it's the problem is with the one size fit all. The Act is designed for both the likes of NAVEC or ports, big institutions, and then the smallest institutions like GAIPA. Then we are expected to follow the same compliance. If you look at the volume of goods that we purchase, it is very minimal on average. But nevertheless, we have it in place, we will issue the letters. But I think they should try to provide thresholds. That will also help, because some of these things also is an added administrative burden on the smaller institutions like us. Because what you have to look at now is we have to write letters, appoint these people as this, so we have to make sure that these 3 people are there, because on average, I think how many procurement we did on a month? It's very minimal. So this is the problem we have. It's the one size suit all. I think that's what needs to be looked at in terms of the GPPA Act and its regulation, to see how it doesn't become an administrative burden on smaller institutions. Because yes, what you are talking, if you go to NAVEC, they will have it, because they have deliveries virtually every day. So they will have all these functions and all these committees. But you come to GAIPA, we sit a whole month, we don't buy anything. So we, on a quarterly basis, we do very few procurement. So this is the issue, but we will do the letters and comply with their requirements.
Yes, I think this is the right place in fact point out those administrative bodies to see whether there is need for legislative reform, because the Driver Act is currently on a review.
Yes.
So if you have any observation, this is the time to make it.
Absolutely.
You want to make it written observation that is concretely point out what you believe is definitely not ideal for an institution.
Absolutely.
I think that will be useful information.
Absolutely.
Reviewing the act itself.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
So that belief we also agree. GAIPA, we believe, DPPA, it appears that there was a conceptual problem, but as you can see, we believe that will be overcome. And maybe there is need for greater advocacy in terms of sensitization on what the conditions of the acts are. So I don't know whether you are being actually sending information to these institutions to have at least their procurement officers and procurement section fully informed of the requirements of the act. Are you actually doing that? Is sensitization actually taking place? Good afternoon.
My name is 𝐿𝐈. I'm representing my colleagues here. So the question you asked is whether we are having a sensitization program on procurement specialists. For now, we did not start that. But to be honest with you, our procurement specialists are our partners in development. And we always make sure that we always continuously make follow-up on their activities. And for example, when we amended the regulation in 2019, I can fully remember we went to all these procuring institutions and give them the hard copy of the soft and the hard copy of the regulation. And time to time, this is when we always ask institutions to request for training. And I can fully remember I was part of the team of reviewers to GAIPA, but it was only one day. So I don't think we conducted an exit meeting, but continuously this is where we also advocate for procuring institutions to have capacity building, to build their capacity on training, to request for training. So that is our stand for now, but awareness we did not start yet.
So capacity building necessary?
Very necessary.
DPPA is willing to facilitate that?
Yes.
And maybe from this session, we can work towards that and see how one can help all those responsible for procurement to be the sensitization necessary. Maybe that will avoid the type of compliance problems that we may have due to ignorance rather than refusal to comply. Okay, so members, do we? Yes.
And I just want to compliment our sister here. I think they are doing some sensitization. Every morning, I walk, I hear an advert sponsored by reminding everybody, all the institutions what their responsibilities and the kinds of training that they have. So that's sensitization, and I think that's very important.
This sensitization is happening in the last quarter of 2021. But for now, to be honest with you, I'm responsible for training. But still now, since we advertise for that sensitization, for that training, we never receive a request. To be honest with you, some of the procurement, they refuse to request for training. I don't know the reason for that. Maybe the cost attached to it, because it's not free of charge, but it's a big challenge. And the cost is not much. Request for training and we will train you. And also we have a long-term, that is the short-term training. We also have a long-term training, this is the GPPI, the Gambia Public Procurement Institute. Send in your procurement officers, they will have the certificate and the diploma level in public procurement. And I think for the issue of diaper, I don't think it will be a problem because their procurement officer is our product. So I don't think they will have a big challenge in terms of public procurement.
Reveal a big thing, you know. So, then you should not give testimony before the committee because there's a special interest.
Yes.
So the situation is precisely the fact that there is some problem between the reviewer and management. That's why this issue has come. So it is important, as rightly said, that we just go beyond just simply telling people what should be done to actually engagement. You know, so we hope that you will take that from here. That will be one of the takeaways, that there is need for engagement. You said refusal, maybe there is need for engagement so that the relevance can actually be seen. And especially because this committee is now engaging the public enterprises on their compliance report. Of course, it is relevant because one does not want to appear here and constantly be seen to be flouting the GPPA act. That is not going to build the integrity of institution. Maybe that will enhance greater movement towards compliance, but engagement so that you invite them, in fact, that all procurement officers or heads at a given stage should, come to a particular seminar, workshop, etc., whatever. Those things could also be organized. So rather than paid training, it can actually be a workshop that would be sponsored. I'm sure that such an important issue, because I remember the minister telling us that up to 5 billion is actually spent on public procurement. If my memory serves me right, don't quote me, but I think it's close to being right. I'm not that old yet in terms of thinking. I think, and that's not ordinary money, 5 billion.
In fact, chunk of the budget we approve goes through the procurement system.
So essentially then, this is a key area, especially for public enterprises. So we would be finding out how much they spend on procurement. That will become relevant question to members. But upfront, your institution becomes very significant.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a humble request to them?
Yes.
I think they can make it conditional on certain things. They can really get institutions. It's not coercive, but just tell them every year your procurement officer needs to go through this. Otherwise, we will not consider your whatever. They have to regulate. So if they leave it to people, everybody will just sit back. Or you make it conditional on their approval of their applications, they will come. They will get trained.
I think we will, as he has suggested something, we'll examine it, and then we'll move more and more. And the chair, we are jittery in recommending certain measures for distancing ourselves from past dispensation.
Right.
But there may be times when certain measures are necessary, and they can be progressively inputted in what you do in terms of familiarization and engagement. People must have the competence, to be able to carry on the responsibility. And as said, all institutions should have a trained person, to be handling this responsibility.
The National Pharmacy Council.
Yeah, and
the National Pharmacy Council.
Okay.
I made it conditional.
Yes, we can make it conditional.
You will not get your renewal of your license.
Yes.
You will not go through the CRAS training program annually.
Okay.
So
all right.
Conditional.
So bear that in mind. Yes, bear that in mind. Yes, members. Well, Thank you very much. I hope do you have another session, or you can still continue with us?
Yes, I want to, but then you have a member now. Let me join my committee.
You have your committee, okay, all right. You are local government. All right.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Well,
can I take these documents?
Yes, certainly, because we gave it to you.
Okay.
So it's a gift. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Any further on the phone? So I think you can. What time is it now?
19 minutes after 12.
Yeah.
We now have media.
I think now.
Yes.
Thank you very much, board management. We believe that we have done enough review of the activity report and financial statement for the year ended 31st December 2017, 31st December 2018, and 31st December 2019. It is very significant to have you here as a core institution for the development of the productive sector of the economy. Your focus is precisely that. And we are ready to visit your site and be fully briefed so that we can see where you are actually heading with a $300 million project. We would want to know the concrete obstacles. We will invite all the players, if need be, and we will encourage you to submit your activity report and financial statement for the year ended 31st December 2020, so that we will also be able to take that on board, probably in March, if possible, we don't know, in order to facilitate the addressing of the challenges. Because that is in fact the role of this institution, because we can get all the players together and at one go address all the challenges together. The investment of GAIFA need to take a foot because of the possibilities that it offers, especially the small enterprises. Because the more it gains, the more it could promote, it could facilitate the growth of the enterprises. As has rightly been said, government interests in GAIFA should be enhanced because it is linked to the development of the productive base. We therefore are convinced that we've gathered sufficient information to be able to make a presentation to the plenary of a fair view of the state of play of the institution between 2015 and 2019. We've also been given some foresight as to what to anticipate beyond 2019. And those would come in the form of recommendations. And therefore, if there are any things that, that you would wish us to put forth as recommendation, put them in writing and submit it as quickly as possible so that we can take them on board. That said, members, I would want to put the question, and that having received the submission of the Gambia Investment and Export Promotion Agency of the activity report and financial statement for the year ended 31st December 2017, 31st December 2018, 31st December 2019, having received the presentation and having considered the said reports, that the members now adopt the activities reports and financial statement presented as the fair view of the state of affairs of GAIPA from 2017 to 2019. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those not in favor say no. The ayes have it. Board, management, we've adopted the reports. Adopting does not mean confirmation of good health of the institution or bad health or anticipate bad health. It is simply a fair view, accepting that we have a fair view of the state of affairs of GAIPA to enable us to extract what is relevant and present a fair report to the plenary with recommendations, so that from the recommendations, hopefully, we'll be able to accompany GAIPA to greater financial viability and for the institution also to attain the operational viability that it is seeking and dying to have. Thank you very much, board management, for your cooperation, and we hope that we'll see again when we deal with the 2020 report. If, of course, we do not have it, then most likely you'll be facing another committee in after April, because our term ends in April 2021. So if we see again, well, Happy New Year and many more to come. If we don't see again in committee, still Happy New Year and many more to come. Thank you, Chair. If you wish to say anything before you depart, otherwise you are released. An auditor, you are certainly released, but you may wish to wait for the chair.
Yes.
To. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and members. I don't think I would be doing justice for us to just leave without saying a big thank you to you and your committee. It's been really a pleasure on behalf of my board and management to be associated with your committee. And as I was coming to this meeting this morning, I had my finance manager from my office, and then I was underscoring the importance of this committee and reflecting on the fact that you probably may not be around after April. I was saying it's our prayer that we have somebody of your caliber and interest, somebody who cares and reads, he introspects and gives guidance with regards to how public finances and public enterprises should be governed. On behalf of my board, I would like to wish you good health, and I pray that the Almighty preserves you, for you to continue to help this nation in forging ahead. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the personal remark. Thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we'll continue to work together in so many different ways for the common interest, because that is what is driving all of us,
right.
The public interest, the public service. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
You are released.
Thank you.
Board, and I'm sure the members will do a good work.
Thank you. I think this is yours. You got it, man.
Sure.
Madam Secretary, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Keita, the only problem is your...
Me,
Oh, really? Yes, no, honestly.
oh.
He's an asset.